Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Art of Selling Travel podcast. And this week, we're going to talk about why your marketing isn't working. This is something that I get from travel advisors all the time. I need more leads. I don't have any clients. Nobody can find me. Nobody, like, uh, when travel advisors join our free Facebook group, the very first question they get asked is, what's the biggest obstacle in your business? And I would say well over 50% is a marketing or leads problem. You know, closely in there is also being ghosted, not being able to close the sale, things of that nature, but definitely by far and away, I'm going to say it's getting leads or getting qualified leads. I love what they put on getting qualified leads, because then that leads into a whole other series of questions about the sales process that they're all working with, but also to just getting leads or getting aligned leads. I always then get curious, what does aligned leads mean to you? Because when I start peeling back the layers and asking travel advisors saying, okay, so if you want aligned leads, who are you trying to attract? Well, anybody that wants to buy travel, anybody that wants this, anybody that wants that. And they're talking about these grand numbers, these big numbers, random numbers of all sorts of people. And here's the problem: you're not going to get aligned people if you don't know what they're being aligned to. And so we're going to talk today about why your marketing isn't working, and more importantly, what you can do to get it going. So first and foremost, let's start with some of the myths, some of the things that I hear. No one in my area buys that. Says who? I remember when a client came in to book freaking Vegas with me, had just days before, as it turns out, booked a world cruise in the city because apparently small town people he didn't think could handle that. So here's the deal. He was from my town. He came to me for Vegas, and yet that client booked something bigger. Why did he book a world cruise with somebody else? Because somebody else was talking about it and I wasn't. That was the last time I did not talk about world cruises. People won't buy or pay for or whatever. People won't buy a world cruise in my area. Guess what? They are. They're just not buying them from you. I can't charge fees. I can't charge this. I can't charge that. I can't charge them for upgrades. And oh my goodness, I got this notification that this is going to cost more. I guess I'm going to have to eat it. Why? Why? That's what it costs. Nobody's going to pay for anything that you don't give them a reason to understand or believe in the need to pay for it. If you apologize for everything, if you have an internal dialogue of, "Oh, I can't charge fees because what would they say? What would that mean? What would this, that, the other, all about it? What does all of that have to do with it?" Of course, they're not going to pay for it. The decision for a client to pay for something starts with the decision of you being unapologetic about it. This is just what it costs to work with me. This is what the process of working with me looks like. This is what that is. That's what this is. It's not all of this, oh goodness, I don't know if I can, no, you need to own it. Again, you can charge whatever, so long as you own it, so long as you talk about it, so long as you say it without skipping a beat. This is one that I'm starting to see pop up a lot too. There's too many travel advisors in my area. There's very good possibility there's a lot of travel advisors in your area. There's also a very good possibility that you were going to hear, travel agents? Is that still a thing? We as those in the travel industry hear that all the time to this day. It is still, wait, that's still a thing? And yet, because you're in it, because this is what you see every day, this is who you hang out with all the time, these are the conversations and the Facebook groups and everything else you're in, you're like, oh my goodness, there's so many. I have a Facebook group that has over 2,000 travel advisors, or around 2,000 travel advisors in it as of the creation of this video. And yet, that is such a teeny, teeny, tiny amount. There is literally hundreds of thousands that are out there that I haven't tapped into. And I guess you might be looking at it and going, "Oh my goodness, there's hundreds of thousands of travel agents out there. There's hundreds of thousands of travel advisors." There sure is. But there is also millions and millions and hundreds of millions of people who are looking to go see the world. Let's focus on the hundreds of millions that want to travel, not the 100,000 that are looking to sell it. See, when we allow these myths to take over, it rewrites the story that we tell ourselves. It rewrites what we think. It rewrites what we believe is even possible. And when we don't believe something's possible, good news, you just made it happen. See, what you believe will dictate what is actually possible. So when you believe there's too many travel advisors in your area, when you believe that nobody in your area will pay this, when you believe nobody will pay that fee, when you believe all of these myths that are out there, they do become your reality. And it does not matter how many amazing tools and techniques and tips and tricks and everything else that you get given, until you change what you believe is possible, none of those are going to work. Or if they work once, you're not going to believe they will work again. So everything that you learn as you are building your travel business, everything you learn as you are going through this crazy world that is around us, you need to believe that change is possible. You need to believe that you can grow your business, that you can have these opportunities, that you can make a difference. Because if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. So let's talk about some of the most common mistakes that I see travel advisors making in their marketing. And I'm not talking just about one platform or another, but as a whole, marketing across the board. So first and foremost is the speaking to everyone instead of speaking to a specific client. I see that when I listen to podcasts, and I always kind of laugh because I'll hear you all. So everybody who's listening, all of you. And I know that when I started my podcast, I am 99.9% sure, because heaven knows I cannot go back and listen to my early podcasts at all. But I'm sure I said that too. But I see it a lot now even. And I would rather talk to one person. So whether I'm doing a story on Instagram or you and I are having a conversation like we are right now through the podcast or through YouTube or however it is that you are connecting and absorbing this, we have to have a conversation one-to-one. It's not one-to-many, although the platform is creating an opportunity for a one-to-many. The actual conversation needs to be between you and I. And when we have a conversation just between you and I, then we're able to have a more specific conversation. We're able to talk with more specificity, and we're able to talk specifically about what are the things that you're struggling with. What are the ways that I can help you to grow your business? The same is true when you're talking with your travel clients. You're not going to go onto your social media and be like, okay, so whether you have 70 kids, you have 7 kids, you have no kids, you have no desire to have kids, maybe you're married, maybe you're not, maybe you're this, maybe you're that, maybe you're all of these different sorts of things. I can help you. Well, nobody wanted to listen to all of those other sorts of things. So instead, who do you help? Each message you put out, each conversation you have, each time you do a reel, each time you send an email, I want you to send it with one specific person in mind. I actually have Post-it notes on the front of my computer, if you could see, and they have specific advisors' names. Why do they have specific advisor names? Because every time I put out a piece of content, I know in my head exactly which advisor I'm creating that for. Maybe I'm creating it for Susan. Maybe I'm creating it for Nancy. Maybe I'm creating it for Jean. Maybe I'm creating it for Tony. Whoever it is, That one piece of content, that one podcast, that one email, that one whatever it is, I've created for one very specific advisor. Because when I am trying to answer and solve all the problems of all my potential clients, it turns into a royal hodgepodge. I have different words, but I've chosen to make the podcast clean. But it's a dumpster fire. And nobody wants to listen to that. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to be a part of that. One, nobody wants to be a part of your dumpster fire because then it might make your dumpster fire part of their dumpster fire. I don't know about you. I myself am living a 2025 dumpster fire. We will talk about it later on in other podcasts when we are doing it from the scar as opposed to the wound. But the thing is, though, is I got my own dumpster fires. I promise you, I do not need to borrow a dumpster fire from somebody else. So when you are creating content, emails, podcast, social media, whatever that platform is, when you are going out to talk in person, wherever it is, talk with specificity of talking to one person. The next mistake I see is a lack of consistency. And trust me, I get it. The irony right now is off the charts. I have not sent out an email in months. I will be sending an email to attach to this podcast. In fairness, I'm saying that out loud partly to hold myself accountable, because now if this email doesn't come out this week, people will be like, what? So I'm holding myself accountable. But I haven't been sending out emails. I haven't been posting on socials. I haven't been doing a lot of things. Guess what? Sales go down. It happens. But at the same time, too, as I've worked through this season of my life, I needed everything to slow down. I needed the business to slow down to a pace at which I could manage. But as we start to gear up, as we go into Q2, as we start working on the second quarter of 2025, I need to start to find a new way to manage the season of life that I'm in at the moment and figure out ways of being able to coexist between life and business. And so you will see a lot more marketing coming in quarter two of 2025 because I've given myself the grace. Now I need to get back at it. And I need to start doing things and connecting with my clients and having those conversations again. But consistency is important. I know that was quite the squirrel I just chased, and I am going to circle back to it again because I think it's so important to understand that there are seasons in life. And again, I'm not going to go deep into it this one because I think this is an episode that will definitely need to come out later. It's just now is not the time for it. But you do have to give yourself grace. And I have given myself the grace. But now is when I need to get back on the consistency. Now is when I need to get back to doing the business of business. Now is when I need to get back to selling, get back to serving, get back to helping the advisors that are within my community. And it's possible advisors haven't noticed. In fairness, they kind of noticed the podcast wasn't coming out because I got a lot of messages. And for that, it meant a lot to me. One, that it was noticed. But two, the messages were almost all attached with, I hope you're okay because I haven't seen you. And see, when you can build a community like that, you know that you have support behind you. You know that it's back in behind there. But see, if you don't have consistency, nobody knows if you're open or if you're closed, if you're here, if you're there, if you're fly by night, all of these different sorts of things. Consistency is what lets your clients know where you're at. Consistency lets your clients know if you're still in business. But if you only do something, if you only post on social media when you got nothing coming in, well, guess what? We have a long buying cycle in travel. It's not lipstick. You're not just going to post the latest color and somebody's immediately going to buy it. You are playing a long game. So we want to make sure that you're doing consistency. Another big or common mistake is focusing on the features and not the benefits. So I see a lot that are like, oh my goodness, check out this ship. It has however many thousands of staterooms. Uh, that all on its own could induce a panic attack within people. Be like, who wants to go? I remember there was a cruise line, and you'll probably all figure it out, but there was a cruise line way back when I worked for somebody else. Like this was, I don't know how many years, like 15 years ago when that cruise line announced their big mass ships coming out. And I remember when we were talking about how many passengers it held, just the passengers equaled almost the entire population of the town that I worked in. Like it was insane. Then you add in all of the crew, and it was more than all of the people who lived in this town that had multiple grocery stores, this town that had an auction mart, who had, what was it, like 5 banks in it? Like there was all of these businesses, all of this going on. There was multiple travel agencies in this town, and yet the population of that town was less than that ship. And I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, there is no way I want any part of going on there. I've now sailed on it multiple times. I enjoy it because to me, it's not about how many people are on there, but instead the way they've been able to manage the flow of traffic, the way that they've been able to set things up, the multitude of restaurants, the variety of this, the amount of public spaces, the amount of this, the amount of that, the way that they've done all of these different sorts of things. So how can you talk about the benefits rather than the features? What is the stories that you can put in there? What are the things that you can include in there? There's so many more showings of the live theater. One, because it is so large, they're able to bring in an entirely different caliber of theater performances. And because they have that, and because the size of their theater, everybody that wants to gets an opportunity to go and witness these shows, all included in their price. If you have a dysfunctional family, I get you. I see you. I understand you. I love the big ships because I can go on family vacations and perhaps not actually spend that much time with the family. It is so many benefits in there. Now, on the flip side, talking about a ship that maybe only has 200 or 300 staterooms, why is that a benefit? It's not about how many staterooms, but it's about what that translates into. Really and truly, I guess that actually it's a great place to jump off of. You want to translate what the features are into the benefits. You are there as a translator. It's sort of like if you were building a house and you don't understand all of these terms that they're talking about, and lowy and this and that, and how many years of insulation, how many, all of these I have no idea what all those things are. That's why I have really bad examples to give you. But at the same time, too, if somebody can translate kind of contractor into homeowner language, that's where the sweet spot is. That's it. Your clients want to understand why. That's what you want to do with your marketing. You're overlooking your clients' emotions. Again, that storyteller factor. Why is that important? Don't just assume with a broad stroke that everybody has the most functional family and that they want to spend all of their time together. That's where you can tell a little story of, so if you love to spend time with your family, you are going to love that you can do this, 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 and this. But if you love to go on a family vacation and then have your own space, the beauty of doing a cruise, for example, we could pre-select where all your staterooms are so we can move you apart. We can set this, we can set that. You have the space to, you can have those conversations. And yes, you were speaking specificity into the fact that you were going to talk about family cruising, but it does not mean that every family is specifically the same. You can do a this or that. You want to build, you want to have connection and authority or authenticity. Sorry, I can't read my own notes. Connection and authenticity. You want to make sure that people are able to connect with you. That's part of the storytelling. One, you want to make sure those stories are about your clients or have relevance to your clients, but that they're an authentic story, not one that you've made up or pilfered from somebody else or something like that, but rather an actual genuine connection that you can build with your clients. You want to share with your clients, not just talk at them. I do these podcasts, I would have said every week, but we did take a break. But for the most part, we do these podcasts every single week. The reality is, I am talking at you, but yet I am working really hard to bring you into my conversation, to make you a part of it, to help you to look at things a little bit differently. So, how can we do that? How can we ask questions of your audience, just like I do you? That'll make you be a part of it, that will pull you back into it, that will give you something to think about, something to listen to, something to ponder. That's what you want to do with your clients. You want to spark that curiosity for them. So, how can you shift your marketing so that it's more relevant and more applicable to your audience? So, first and foremost, of course, is to use client language. It's always that curse of the insider knowledge. We all have the insider terms. We all have things that we think make things sound better, but really and truly, is that what your client would say? Would your client call themselves a luxury client? I think we talked about this on the podcast. I know I've definitely talked about it in coaching calls. But a lot of times we use the term luxury, and a genuine luxury client does not call themselves luxury because that's just how they live. And most of what we refer to as luxury is probably more premium. And if your client is more premium, they probably don't self-identify as luxury. So we want to make sure that we're using the right language, like what they would use. When your clients are looking for a family vacation, are they calling it a family vacation, or are they calling it a family immersive cultural event? Like, you've got to make sure that you're using the language that actually applies to them. You also want to make sure you're solving a problem. I love this theory. A coach of mine actually uses it. He calls it the PSP, problem, solution, problem. So you are going to give them a small problem for which you're the solution, and you're going to provide the solution right then and there. So maybe the first problem is how do you get going with a multi-generation family trip? Well, the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to have everybody bring your calendars together, and let's narrow down the windows to the most to where we have availability. The very first thing every family should do before they start planning anything is check the calendars. Because when you are dealing with multi-gen in particular, you've got kids' activities, you've got work commitments, you've got probably weddings or whatever sorts of celebrations that are going on all around. So the very first thing to do is to check the calendars. So you've given them a problem. It's hard to get people together. Solution, go check all your calendars. Now we're going to give them another problem. We're going to agitate another problem. And maybe that's, how do you make everybody happy? Well, that's probably not something that they themselves are equipped to answer, but you can. You're the expert. You know what it's going to take. And that's where you've had a problem, a solution, and now you've agitated the second problem, which makes you the solution. So you're going to invite them to meet with you to help solve that problem. When you have a problem that's specific, that one, they're able to get the quick, easy win. That's why that's first problem, then the solution. Then you're going to agitate that next one. Because otherwise, if you just leave them as a problem and a solution, they're like, I figured this out. I don't need you. But if you can do a problem, a solution, and immediately agitate another problem, they're like, oh, good grief, there's more to this than I thought. Then they know why they need you. Because if you don't show them a problem, if you don't offer them a solution, they may not know why they need to work with you. I can just book it online. Why would I need you? I could just do this. Why would I need you? What are your clients focused on? What are the outcomes that they want to have? It's not just all, oh, look at the pretty picture. It's what do they actually want? Again, a lot of them will say, well, I just want to go on vacation. But there's a lot of good vacations and there's a lot of bad vacations. And it takes a professional to understand the difference between the two. So, what is it that you can do um, to help them have an even better experience? Again, when you are focused on the outcomes in your marketing, it's also focused on your client's outcomes, not yours, but your client. I've seen far too many social media posts over the years that are either inviting people to help them hit their next sales goal so that they can get a trip. I'm sorry, I have no desire to pay for you to go on a vacation. Um, or it's all about where they've been with nothing about how it's going to help the client, nothing about why the client should care, nothing about the client themselves. When you were going on a fam or you're going like, Asta just did their big River Cruise Expo. Highlight why you're there. It's not just so you can go see all this. It's not just so you can have like the most amazing time and that you can see all these ships. But how does that translate? What does that translate to for your clients? Social media is an important tool in your marketing, but that's all it is, a single tool. Each platform is another tool or another size of the same tool, if you will. You can't actually build a house with one tool. You can't build an entire business with only one tool. See, the biggest mistake a lot of people make in their marketing is they're only using one tool. They're only using one tool. And when you use it as social media, you don't own the platform. Or they're saying, I won't use that tool. It's really hard to build a house if you don't have a hammer. And if a hammer is the one tool that you're like, no, everybody else is doing it, I'm not going to use it. You might need it. You just might. You need to leverage email marketing, referrals, in person. There's so many other layers. Getting on other people's platforms, other people's podcasts, other people's YouTubes, getting in front of other people's audiences. There's so many different ways of marketing. The key to that, though, is you can't do it all at once. It's doing one, getting it going, then layering in the next one. And now I'm not saying it's getting it perfect. I even told you at the beginning of this, I cannot listen to my own first podcast episodes. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. It's never, nope, no way. I can't do it. And I have moments where I'm like, I should pull them down. I know they're not good. But then I have other advisors that will come to me and they'll say, I just started over at the beginning and I love your early episodes too. Bless you. Thank you. But at the same time, I hope you can also see the growth that's come with it, the changes that have come with it, the confidence that have come with it as a way of doing it. Another problem I see is that they're not lowering the friction point. In fact, they're increasing the friction points. When you are on a platform, so let's say, for example, Instagram. Instagram does not allow you to have links within your caption. So if your call to action is email me, go to my website, whatever it is, and it's a link that they would otherwise have to copy and paste, or they have to type it in over here, and then they have to remember it over here, and then they got to go back and forth, and they got to go back and forth, and there's far too much friction involved. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using for a marketing channel, a marketing platform, that you are using calls to action that are reflective of the platform you're on. When you're on Facebook and you're doing a caption, you can do linkable or clickable links. When you're in Instagram, you can't. So maybe you can put a link to your scheduling calendar in your Facebook. Now, we could go down a whole other rabbit trail in terms of what's going to get you more or less, like with the algorithms, this, that, the other. That's a whole other episode. But what I'm talking about for today is the friction point. And so, yes, on Facebook, you can do that clickable link. On Instagram, no, you can't. So in which case, if your clients aren't going to be the ones to know how to DM you, then you're just going to give them a word to comment below. Yes, you could set it up with an autoresponder with a mini chat or something like that, or you just simply have them comment below and you monitor that. And you have it set up that you get a notification when somebody comments on your social post. You want to lower the friction point. If they have to burn too many calories in order to make the next step happen, or just simply don't even know what the next step is or how to find it, if you don't have buttons on your website that are one, always the same thing, book a call, book a call, book a call, or get like whatever that is, or there's like no buttons, people can't work with you. They have to have something that's easy to find. They have to have something that lowers the friction point. You got to talk about what you sell. Yes, you want to offer education. You want to put things in front of your clients. You want to give them inspiration and inspire them to want to take action. But ultimately, you do also have to tell them what you do. You ultimately have to tell them what it takes to work with you. You ultimately have to tell them what it is that you are selling. For example, I have a monthly membership program called the Travel Advisor Success Studio, where travel advisors can come in for as low as $27 a month and join me, and they get access to 2 group coaching calls a month, plus some amazing other things that go with it. But if I didn't tell you about it, I can't be upset that nobody finds it, right? But the other thing is, and I'm going to give you an invitation to DM me at the end of this episode, because I'm going to give you some action steps. But the thing is that if I only ever tell you to DM me, you got questions, DM me. That's great. But did I actually tell you that I sell services? Did I tell you I do one-to-one coaching? Did I tell you that I have this membership program? Did I tell you that I have sales programs? Did I tell you that we are doing an amazing week at sea where we're going to work together for a whole week in a really small, tight little pod of people? If I don't tell you those things and you send me DMs, I haven't established the fact that I will absolutely help answer a couple of things, but I don't do coaching in the DMs. I'm not going to help you in the long term in the DMs. You actually have to invest to get coached by me. I put out this podcast. There's all sorts of content that come out here because this is something I hear from travel advisors too. If I put it all in my content, then they're just going to, like, I've given it all away. And my question becomes, as an advisor listening to these podcasts, do you genuinely believe that everything you need to know about building a business is available in podcasts, is available through free platforms? Because I'm here to tell you that it's possible to pull it together and DIY your business. But I'm also going to tell you that you're not necessarily going to get all of it. I definitely don't go into near the detail during my podcast episodes as what you're going to get if you get to hop on a coaching call with me and we get to go deeper and we get to have these conversations. We get to have this community where you get to come into the Facebook group and you can ask questions and I'm in there and I will coach you through it. If you believe you can DIY your business top to bottom, I'm also going to tell you, I know why you're attracting a DIY client, or you're struggling with people who want to DIY their travel. You have to look at what are your beliefs. Remember at the beginning when we talked about what you believe is true. If you believe you don't need help, then that's probably the energy you're putting out for your clients. If you believe you don't have to make any investments and you don't have to pay extra and you don't have to pay for anything, you can do everything for free and for cheap. Guess what? That's going to be the energy with which you are attracting clients. I am not here to say you need to invest thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I will be having an episode coming up in the next little while here that talks about what you should expect for investment to run a travel agency, because I am seeing a definite uptick in travel advisors reaching out to me through the DMs who are like, but I don't want to spend any money. And I suggest to them, you need to be with a host agency, but they're going to charge me a monthly fee. You, as a travel advisor, sorry, we're chasing a squirrel here. I'm going to get on my soapbox, are in business, which requires a business investment. And if you don't treat your travel business like a business, you can't expect to get business results in the same way. When you become a travel advisor, particularly independent or completely on your own, because there seems to be a big swing in that. So definitely have an episode of that. I got way too many of those messages last week. You are going to have expenses. You are in business. And I'm not talking about fam expenses and going to travel and everything else. I am talking about actual meat and potato expenses of running a business, of licensing, of registering, of getting insurance, of working with the right suppliers, all of these things. You have to look at how you're operating your business and then look at the type of clients you're attracting. Because if you're trying to do everything completely DIY, guess what? I'm going to bet you're probably attracting a lot more of the DIY client. So, what can you do to get started? I want you to have a look at your marketing. And then what I want you to do is actually show it to somebody, preferably not family, somebody that's really willing to give it to you straight. An acquaintance is probably best, who doesn't know what you do necessarily, and have them go through it and have them tell you what you do. But here's the key. They have to be able to answer that, particularly from your website, within the first 5 seconds. If they look at it, it's called the grunt test. Actually, the grunt test is after 3 seconds, do they know who you help, what you do? How do you help? Show them your website. Show them your social media. Show them an email. Show them what it is you're putting out and ask them what it is you do. Don't tell them. Show them and ask them, because you might be genuinely shocked and find out that it's straight across the board, that yes, you've nailed it. But you might also get a response back where you're like, what do you mean? What do you mean that's what you think I do? Then I want you to look at how often are you putting out content. I totally admit my hypocrisy on this coming out of this season. I have not sent out emails. I have not been consistent on my socials. I have not been consistent on my podcast. I admit that. I recognize it. I know it, and I'm here to change it. But I want you to look at how consistently are you putting out content. If you are saying, but nobody's following me on social media, I'm not growing, I'm not this. If you are only putting out once every couple of days, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you're not going to grow. You need to be putting out something on the regular. You need to be putting out something daily so that your clients know what it is. And most importantly, it needs to be your face. It needs to be you. It needs to be your voice. It needs to be the person that they're going to do business with. See, in this whole world of AI and everything else, your number one selling feature, your number one selling benefit, the number one sales tool in your box is you. It is 100% you. You are what it is that your clients are buying. So remember earlier, I said I was going to have you message me on the DMs. I'm going to link up my Instagram below. Message me over on Instagram and tell me, what one change are you going to do this week? I'm not asking you to make 1,000 different changes, because in fact, the more changes you make, the less likely you are to stick with it. So what one change are you going to make in your business this week? What one thing are you going to do differently this week, today, now? While it's fresh in your mind, send me a DM. Tell me what you're going to do differently, and then send me another one as soon as it is that you've done it. The other day, I was meeting with the organizer for our women in business group. They've just had an employee change. And so I was helping work to get the new one up to speed. And we were working on what our topic was going to be in April. And it is, what are the social media trends of 2025? So good news, I am presenting that one. So once I have all my notes together, I think we're going to do a podcast episode and tell you what all is on there. But she was like, oh, well, how are we going to get the word out? What are we going to do? Like, okay, so like, do we have to write a script? Like, and it was just this complete overwhelm. And I said, oh, okay, well, before I forget, and I grabbed my phone with her right in front of me. I went into our Facebook group and I popped it up there and I said, hey, have you got your tickets for April 15th? Because we have an amazing topic coming from you or coming for you. We're going to tell you all about what's the latest and greatest in social media in 2025. What are the trends that they're predicting? What are the trends that they're seeing? And plus, I have an extra bonus for you when you come. We're going to show you an extra little special tool. So make sure you grab your tickets. They're right below. And I can't wait to see you there. And that was it. And she just looked at me. She's like, how did you do that? I said, because it was the message I wanted to get across. I wanted to invite them. I wanted to tell them what the topic was, and I wanted to tell them how to take action. See, when you do short little videos, real quick, I think that total video was 30 seconds or less. I got through my message. I didn't worry about what I was looking like. I didn't worry about, was my makeup perfect? I didn't worry about all of these different sorts of things. I got the message out. That's all it takes. Because one of the things she was talking about, she's like, well, we've got to, like, I've got something coming up where we're going to teach them the reels and we're going to show them all this and how to set up their lighting, how to do this and that. And I'm like, in 2025, the number one trend is just freaking doing it. It's the authenticity and the connection, making sure the message is most important. It is not about perfect lighting. It is not about filters. It is not about this perfect curation. Instead, it's about creating a compelling message. So if you had 30 seconds in front of somebody, what is the message you want them to have? What is the message you want them to hear from you? That's what you're going to put on your next Instagram reel, your next Facebook reel, whatever it is. Keep it to 30 seconds. Until next time, I wish you lots of travel sales, happy selling, and don't forget to send me a DM. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.